We're a little late. Sorry, guys. We were talking movies and
We're late.
the link
We're talking
on
Joe
the
Sway's
important stuff.
vacation.
Joe Sway's got a vacation.
Important stuff.
Joe Sway's got a
Yes,
vacation.
sir. He sure
we got
does.
sponsors. We got sponsors. We're going to tell you about first. Legends brand apparel. Bobby rocking the camo again.
Yes.
Yep. Joe Sway the
Camo.
T-shirt.
It's kind
I
of
got
hot
my tee
today,
on.
but I gotta show love.
I got my sweatshirt on. It's
Yeah,
probably the
you know what?
muggiest it's been in a while out here in Boston, but I only wear Legends gear, so I just sweated out. Just got back from the gym, no
Yeah.
big deal, and wanted to toss the Legends sweatshirt on just to like finish out the sweat.
No big deal.
No big deal.
coffee
You probably
was
didn't
a
even
bad- was a
notice,
bad
but it's
choice.
cool.
Yep.
By the way, the shorts, great running shorts. I already
They are
tested
good.
those out.
The shorts
with
are
the
awesome.
liner, with the
You don't
liner.
have to wear
too.
underwear with them. Just a little
That's
heads
a
up.
secret.
Yeah.
I had to Google that.
yeah. Some people go double underwear, which is kind of like a high school.
I had to
That's
Google
like,
it.
I think Bobby probably did that a few times in high school. He just did the double underwear just in case. But
I had
you don't have to
look
with these.
So we
Jonathan,
got,
I got to make sure I'm doing this right.
yeah. Do I wear underwear? I googled. Yeah.
John cut the lining out. Some guys cut the lining out. It's like it's just-
Legends, no underwear
You let it-
needed.
it's
shout out-
super comfy.
Shout out to our old friend Marcus Morris. He was repping Legends, and he during a workout he shouted them out, and he had their gear on too. So
Yeah, well, he's part of it. He's one of the. It's an athlete-owned brand of apparel. Use the code Garden20, save up to 20% on your first order. We've also got Raycon earbuds. Go to buyraycon.com/garden. Receive 15% off your next purchase. These are exclusive Garden Report sponsors. We're happy to have them on board with us. So please
I need to
support
get
our
my
sponsors.
Raycons. I need to get my Raycons. I'm gonna
Support
get
our sponsors. It only helps us, allows us to keep pumping out more content, and which we love to do. We are, again, kind of in that weird little silly season here as we await kind of something to happen, and not a lot is happening, and that's that. What are we going to do? It's the off season, but we are close. Jimmy, what's up?
I'm not gonna say.
I think Jimmy's got a question.
My wireless AirPods stink now. They don't hold the battery. They don't hold I can't even have a conversation. I mean, they die. So I'm definitely gonna go get the Raycons and give those ones a shot.
Yep.
Anyways,
so here
with
we
my
are.
Legend sweatshirt.
Here we are doing the things that we do. Hold on one second. We expect Sherrod's going to join us as well and kind of get us back on track. But we do have some things we definitely want to talk about.
Do we?
We do. We do have a few things.
I want to talk about the
wanna ask Sherrod about,
1997.
and I want to set the table,
Celtics
and then we'll set the table, and we'll go in a couple directions. A few
I
things.
want to ask Sherrod about his Simmons thing.
A few things written in the last few days that we're going to pick on. Some scouting reports looking at some of the Celtics. We'll talk about year two expectations for Neesmith and Pritchard. Maybe we'll talk a little Romeo as well. Interesting article in The Athletic today. Jay King was trying to come up with his own rotations. And we've talked about this a lot on the show. What's our best five? What's the starting five? Who's going to play with whom? What's that second unit going to look like? The bigs, how are they going to rotate? We'll get into a little of that. But one of the things that's interesting that we've been talking about from the get-go is the bigs minutes, not only who's going to start, but who's going to finish. So we'll talk about that as well. Rumors, call it what you will. Zach LaVine, his name was floated out there. We'll kick that around too. And what was it else you wanted to get into, Bobby?
Happy birthday, Dennis Schroeder. I guess that's it. No, but Ben
We'll
Simmons.
finish
right.
with that segment. Yeah.
No, didn't Sherrod say a week or two ago that Simmons to Boston or something like that would be on the table if Simmons wanted to force it or something? It was a pretty loose statement about it, but I just want to check in with him on that and kind of see where he's at on that even being a possibility at this point.
All right.
Maybe Simmons for Kyrie now that we know that the Nets are shut.
Oh,
Right,
you
he
said
stepped
you
out
weren't
there.
going to say it. Yes. And everybody, yes, R.I.P. Norm Macdonald. All I want to say is, you got any gum? No. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Turd Ferguson, rest in peace. All-time skit. SNL skit.
one of my favorite, very, very, they did a Tarantino thing, like a behind the movie sort of Tarantino Pulp Fiction, and he plays Tarantino, and he's talking about auditioning different people for it, and it's Burt Reynolds auditioning in the John Travolta role during the cheeseburger scene. It's freaking priceless. Google it.
That
remember
OJ
that.
stuff must have been so funny back then, like in the prime of that
Well,
era.
he wouldn't let to his credit, above all
Oh
else.
yeah.
he wouldn't let it go when everyone else was like, okay, I guess so you can get away with murder now. And he just refused to. So he stuck it into every weekend update. You can find those clips now too. And you guys saw the sports award one with the Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
You've seen that? Have you seen that clip?
There's like a 13-minute clip.
But you saw the one with Woodson?
I
think he's.
No,
I haven't seen that one. I think it's an ESPYs, and it's talking about Charles Woodson, former Heisman Trophy winner, which is great. He's like, and you'll have a successful blah blah blah, and this and that. He's like, as long as you don't murder your wife and a waiter, and he just snuck it in there, and everyone was like,
yeah. The thing about Norm Macdonald, he was just so casual with everything he said, where it was just so funny how like he just made everything like awkward but not awkward, and his voice was just like every character kind of had a similar vibe to it. You know what I mean? That's why I just thought he was so funny and so good. But unfortunately,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, unfortunately, like I wasn't around for like the prime Norm Macdonald years, but Dirty Work was an unbelievable movie, and I know he popped up in some Sandler stuff, and I mean he's his own guy. I mean he doesn't need those. He's done so much more than that, but that's kind of like where I came in. So everything else I've seen has been like YouTube clips and stuff like that.
Also, he had a little known, sports show called Sports Show, and it was just it lasted.
He loves sports.
It lasted only 9 episodes, but it was just basically half an hour weekend update for sports, just skewering sports, and it was great. And honestly, it would be hugely successful now. It just didn't work then, and it was in and out
before its time.
It was really, 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 really good.
He was one of the most voracious sports tweeters I knew. I mean, he would just be play-by-play on his account there. Golf, anything he was betting on, it'd just be nonstop.
And he was super smart. He played dumb in all his roles, but I'm pretty sure I read that he graduated like college at age like 14 or something crazy like that. So he was wicked smart. And some people probably don't even remember this. He was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he could have won $1 million. Regis Philbin like talked him out of it. He had the correct answer, and Regis Philbin like spooked him out of like giving an answer, and then so he didn't. So he took the money.
He took the deal.
Deal, and then Regis was like, "Oh, what would you have picked?" He's like, "Well, I would have gone with whatever it was, Pine Hill or something." And that was the answer. So
yeah, it was probably because there was like 2 winners ever. So it was like, no, we can't have Norm be the third.
Right. Yeah. That was crazy. But anyways,
that was so rare. People would get so close, and then they would.
So many comedians. I know like Norm Macdonald's kind of been out of the limelight for a while, probably because of his health, unfortunately. But like so many comedians immediately like came out, and that's when you know somebody was like truly funny, because like really funny guys were like, damn, like this one hurts, or like, and they pretty much admitted like he was one of the funniest guys they knew. So it's too bad.
Yeah. That was tough. And again, it's always when you hear the private battle and didn't make a big deal, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. It was like Chadwick Boseman when he died. Everyone was like,
yeah, that came out of nowhere too.
What? Like
unreal.
Completely, and that's the Norm Macdonald was like, wait, what? It's really sad.
Right.
Also, while we're doing it, I'll give a shout out as well to Michael K. Williams, who also, if we're gonna talk about celebrity passings right now, Omar from The Wire. That's a really tough one too.
Hurt too. Yeah,
he's a legend.
For sure.
Yeah, he was a legend. Played 2 of the most iconic roles in television history, in Chalky and Omar.
Fearless too. Fearless. He did it. Yeah, he did it. Like, man,
that's regarded as one of like the greatest TV series
for a lot of reasons. Yeah. Right.
So while we're doing that, before we get into basketball, hats off to both legends in their own right, and tough losses for sure. And there's crossover. We know this is a basketball audience, but everybody enjoys a lot of the same stuff we do, which is good TV, good comedy. And I'm sure there's a ton of people out there who are like, oh man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Omar. So pour one out for each of those guys. Audience. Yeah. As far as Garden Report goes, some of the things we're talking about, and I've already seen a little bit in the chat. So let's dive into the first one. There was a story, which again, we're not, and just to be fair here, this isn't a full-on report, but Gary Washburn, one of our pals over at the Globe, threw out.
We got to get Gary on a show.
throw out a name that he found interesting, which is Zach LaVine in free agency next year. And again, the type of gymnastics the Celtics have to do to get to clear enough space to sign somebody and this and that, it's significant, especially considering all of the extensions and everything they did this offseason. I'm not even going to pretend to know how the money works. When we talk about these guys, we literally only talk about the fit.
Right.
Is this the type of guy?
They'll figure it out.
Is this the type of guy you would want? And it isn't. It's an intriguing thing because it would be this instead of Beal. Would this be somebody you would consider? And again, it's Olympic teammate of Tatum. He's younger. He's a guy whose game is clearly on the rise. There's
he's
a lot of
he's a trainer partner of Tatum's too, with Drew Hanlon there. They work out together.
And
Drew Hanlon, yeah.
I've mentioned him a lot during the year. It's not low key only because he was in Chicago. It's not low key. He made the All-Star team, made the Olympic team. His season, we talk about Jalen's efficiency. This is one of the most impressive.
He had a similar start to Jalen. He was an All-NBA guy first half.
Yeah.
But he finished his numbers again, points per game, almost exactly or in and around what Tatum had, but his shooting percentage is off the charts. He was almost a 50-40-90 guy. He was 51, 40, 44, and 86 or something like that. Insanely efficient. In addition to his athleticism and a lot of other things he brings to the table. He's an interesting guy. I could talk myself into this in a heartbeat. I could talk myself into this over Beal in a heartbeat too, because of age and position as well. But you guys take your turn. What are your thoughts here?
I like the fit. I think it's a great fit. Someone that can move the ball, absolutely. Someone who can pass. Get the ball moving. I think that's huge, and also someone that's motivated. Whether we're talking about high end scoring or whether we're talking about a guy who hasn't been that deep in the playoffs before, doesn't know what that's quite like. That's a guy who I think would be a good fit. The money situation is where things would get a little dicey.
That's not our problem, Josue. That's not our problem.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't get paid enough to worry about that.
To answer your question, I love the fit, and I think that's the kind of guy who would fit this transition, into the new era with Ime Udoka, and I just think when you look at the situation heading into the season, it's great to imagine, but we still have to play things through. But this is that part of the year, right? This is that part of the summer where we do stuff like this. So I like it.
Yeah, Bradley Beal more likely, although to John's credit, and I know this is something you want to get into, is comparing those two. I think you got something there, John, in terms of him being more preferable, whether it's the age, the athleticism, the burst, the defense compared to Beal. There's a lot here to love when you compare him directly to Bradley Beal. Now, Beal's probably the more explosive, versatile scorer at this point. But I think there are real defensive concerns with Bradley Beal there in terms of him being able to stay in front of people, switch, all those different things that he struggled with on that side of the ball there in Washington, D.C. I think LaVine, you get a better defender. Sort of his pedigree coming into the league more so than offense was on the defensive side of the ball. And, an incredibly fast, twitchy player who's developed an incredible shot, can play on and off the ball, as Josue mentioned there. He'd be phenomenal. But the Bulls do have something in place here that does at least move your eyes. I mean, I was talking to some Bulls fans who think they could be a home court team next year. That's how excited they are about their team out there.
Sure, they made their moves.
Bulls fans think that?
Well, the last few years wouldn't give me much confidence in that. I'm actually lower on the Bulls than most people. I don't think they have the defense.
The defense.
I like Ball as a point of attack guy, but system wise, Vucevic down the middle isn't an anchor. I don't think they have an anchor guy. And Patrick Williams probably has a little while to go here.
I feel like they overspent on pretty good, and they'll be a little bit disappointed in Chicago. It's clearly better.
They need to underperform.
They missed the playoffs last year.
You need to have a bad Bulls season for Zach LaVine to, really consider going to somewhere else, because obviously he can get more money staying with the Bulls. But if things really go south, that's more likely that maybe he decides to look elsewhere or more teams come knocking. But if you're the Celtics, having a second option isn't a bad thing. I mean, we talked about how they're putting all their eggs in the Beal basket and they're going to get completely burned. Well, obviously things have changed since we thought that was possibly going to be what they were going to do.
When it was automatic.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah. It's happening. Beal's coming to Boston. We should go back, roll the tapes back. I think that's how Xanis started the video. I was like, well, it's settled.
Cue that.
Print the Beal jerseys.
The GIF of from the office. It's happening, guys. Not a drill.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. But no, I mean, have another guy at least.
You mean Arrested Development?
Yeah.
It's
No,
happening, isn't it? The George Michael. But
anyways,
yes, some idiot said that on the show. I don't agree. I didn't agree then.
I knew
don't
when
now.
I heard that. When I heard that, I was like, "Oh no, he's getting a little."
I didn't
too
care. I
carried
knew what
away."
I was doing. It was. I knew what
I
I was
remember.
doing.
I remember before we went on the air, you guys were like, "We're going on," and I was like, "All right, it's just kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but we'll see."
So
But,
again, the money thing's interesting.
You see,
here.
viewers. You see, John doesn't just trigger you guys; he triggers us too.
Yeah.
So when we get into the money on this, like it is interesting because the Bulls don't have he got traded from the Timberwolves in the Jimmy Butler deal, so they don't have like that original team like supermax power with him, and he obviously isn't an All NBA guy either. So he could get a significant upgrade. His extension was pretty capped too, so he's actually going to be an unrestricted free agent next summer. There's no player option or anything like that, so he's going to be completely out there. You can get a meeting with him next summer. He can go on this little tour if he wants to, unless he's just going to bridge to the next contract. But the interesting thing about
Kelly Olynyk brings him here.
Well, but yeah, Bobby. So yeah, he's going to go on the full tour, but the Bulls can still offer him more than anybody else can offer him.
Yeah, but it's limited for a few more years, I think. Like he'd have to kind of do a bridge the way Julius Randle would have had to do with the Knicks to like get to the actual big money with the Bulls there, like a 2-year deal and then a 4-year deal with the extension after that. He might just take the, hundreds something million or whatever it's going to be. I think like the extension would have been 100 flat, which would have been way too low. He'll probably be like the mid 100s. But my point is Boston's offer as a team, like taking him away from Chicago, would actually be more comparable than, let's say, the Celtics offering Beal a contract because the Wizards can give him the supermax. So he's not like the super huge
super
Chicago.
duper max.
He's a max player, but his max is lower than Beal's max.
Yeah, because Chicago's only had.
He's more affordable. Beal's going to sign his supermax, and then you're talking trade with him. So you're bringing in a guy who's going to be making $45 million. Like that's how that works now.
Yeah, so you're talking.
There's no way. Too. Yeah. Right.
So you got to get under the hard cap if you're Boston. You got to find the right package that appeals to Chicago and all that kind of stuff because obviously the cap's out the window now. But again, I think you're on to something there, John, in terms of, all right, is this guy more favorable just as a player than Beal? Because I think there's a case there.
Yeah, I could get down. Jimmy,
do you think there's a –
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Jimmy, just the player. What are your thoughts?
I love the player. I think he's super versatile. He's athletic as hell. He's younger. I mean, it seems like him and Tatum had a good rapport going on. I'm not going to fan the Flames and make it seem like Tatum and LaVine are like best friends or anything, but I'm sure they have a decent relationship.
They like each other better than Jalen.
So yeah, wasn't Team USA?
They wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, they do.
Team USA was probably Durant. Tatum, LaVine, right? Those two were awesome together on Team USA.
They were awesome.
The guys that
Absolutely.
drove things.
And I think that might be, I'm sure that like something that crossed Gary's mind when he thought about it. Like, you know what? These guys played together. They, had a good time. They looked like they played well. And who knows? If things go south in Chicago, as they have in past years, then the Celtics are a possibility. Now, you want to get into the whole Brown or LaVine, that's a completely different, topic.
Lakers fans are dreaming too now that he's a clutch guy, though. So
right, well, that's the thing. He signs with clutch. Like they obviously are going to just try to, maximize everything that they possibly can. So, it's still a pipe dream. At the end of the day, we're talking about a superstar player coming to Boston, and rarely does it happen. So I'm not going to get my hopes up, but we'll see how this season plays out. The Celtics need to play well too. If players want to come to Boston. They have to sell them on success.
That's a fair question.
More than anything.
Who's
the Vegas honeymoon?
Tell them, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Sell them on success. That's what you have to sell them on. You're not going to sell them on the weather.
I threw this comment up here, not because we're necessarily going to do this right at this moment, but I do want to encourage people. We're a little open-ended here. We have some things we do want to hit on, but we're more than happy to answer any questions or talk about any particular topics. So if you guys want to throw some stuff out at us, we'll definitely discuss as far as grading the roster. We'll get into stuff like that a little bit. The roster's been kind of set for a while and we've given our takes on it, but it's the fit that's going to be the real issue here in terms of how things are going to look with this team. And we do have a lot of questions still, but we'll have to see on those. I do want to just give everybody the full spiel on Legends because, they are on board with us here. So I'll let everybody know once again, the show's powered by Legends brand. It's an athlete-owned apparel brand popping up seemingly everywhere these days. You have athletes like Matt Barnes, Steve Nash, Baker Mayfield, locally. Guys like Willie McGinnis and Marcus Morris are on board with this. High-performance apparel, style and comfort, wear it all day. If you want to get in on the action here, and again, this helps us huge, guys. And it's the fall. Everyone's rocking it, right? What do we got?
It's the fall. I got my sweatshirt on right now.
We got it.
Hoodie season.
Hoodie
season.
It's sad boy season. You just want to put on your hoodie and just all of a sudden it's starting to rain outside and you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to chill.
Big rain the rest of the week.
Yeah, it's hoodie season. It's comfy.
Jimmy's like, you got no one to take the sweater from you, so you're always alone.
Yeah. So
you don't want to let anybody
get the sweater an extra size up just in case.
Yep. So there's a bunch of different things. It's athletic apparel built for the modern athlete, but it's streetwear inspired design, style, and comfort. Limited edition drops nearly every week, which you can get some stuff that maybe some of the other kids aren't going to get their hands on because it just comes out every once in a while.
Wait, what?
So again,
limited stuff?
Limited edition.
Okay.
So
email us, Jimmy.
Keep the tab. I'll keep the tab open on my browser.
We're rolling this promo until October 10th. Okay, October 10th. So we've got a little bit longer. We've got some ways to go.
Oh, we got some time.
So we got some time. So Garden 20, save 20% on your first order. Again, Garden 20, and it makes sense if you're going to do it. Load up because it's 20% on that first order.
That's
so
just
grab
basic
a couple
math.
things.
Yeah, you want to get as much as you can. You'll save. The more you buy, the more you save.
The more you buy, the more you save.
You know what? Early Christmas gifts. You got Christmas coming up.
Don't do
Maybe you
separate
want to
purchases.
get it done.
That's right.
Any girls out there that are watching the show? I know there's a few. I see you guys in my DMs. So you want to just buy a couple of shirts. Maybe you got a boyfriend. Maybe you don't. It's cool either way.
Buy
It's a good gift.
another one for Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy is super single. If you haven't noticed, everyone, super single.
Anyway, get in on the action, guys. At Legends.
I'm not going to Hawaii. I know that.
Hates when we talk like this. He hates it.
I know I'm not going to Hawaii like Joe Sway is.
Legends.com, code Garden20, save 20% on your first order.
I was looking 1 year ago. We were drinking beer. I don't know what's worse.
Yeah. You know what somebody showed today, which blew my freaking mind?
That was about a year ago.
The 1 year anniversary of the block of the Adebayo on Tatum.
Oh yeah, game 1 because the game 7 was right before that.
That was like a zillion years ago. 2 champions have been crowned since then,
and we're still in the
conference finals. My God, that's what we were doing a year ago.
Yeah, John, you probably celebrated that. Actually, you probably had a beer to celebrate that. Block.
No, man, we were riding that team. We were finals or bust.
I'm still not over that. I don't think the Celtics are either.
That's a year ago.
Oh, things are so different. Hayward,
Think how different we are. Yeah. Oh my God! It seems like in terms of where the roster is at, it's like a zillion years later.
Yeah, basketball years, it's at least 5.
Who would have thought Hayward and Kemba would be gone 1 year later?
It's banana land. Hayward's been gone for like 4 years now.
Yeah, at the end of that season, I was under no illusion that Hayward was going to be gone.
Yeah, it feels forever. Hayward was on the team a year ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Somebody just commented, Jimmy is down bad every show.
What does that mean?
We got to go back first.
But tonight you've been a little bit of a bummer.
First we had Cap, now we're gonna go over down bad.
Yeah. No, I'm good, everybody. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm in all black right now, but I'm fine.
The guy is fine.
He's in that attic. He's chilling.
Couple things we wanted to talk about, and I'm gonna switch gears now. One of the things, as I mentioned, we've talked a ton about rotations and the best 5 and all of those things. And like I said, just grabbing on Jay King's article today because we've debated it, and he had, gone through rotations. How are things going to look? Who's going to play with who? And he came to the conclusion that Al Horford would be the closing center because he's more versatile. He can do more. You don't have a true point guard, yada, 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 yada. Over Rob Williams. I think there's merit. I think you can make cases. I think a lot of times it's going to be situationally dependent. I don't think it's automatic that one person will
Exactly.
play over another. It is still. What I find interesting about this is, are we going to still spend another year where we're talking about when and where Rob should play, as opposed to just accept? And I don't want the
What
Mr.
do you
Glass.
think? 20,
I,
24 minutes a game.
I do not want the he's going to get hurt chatter. We're living in a world where that's not an issue. If it is, then you live with it, and it's a different story.
Yeah, but you can't have the Rob Williams talk without having that talk though. That the 2 and 2 go hand in hand,
Yes
because he
and
hasn't
no.
proven that he can put together
Yes and
a
no.
healthy season.
Yes and no, only in the sense of if he's one of your best players and you're worried about keeping him on the court, you manage minutes to the point to make sure he's available at the end of the game. Are we still talking about their situations where we're calling for who I believe is clearly your third best player to not be on the court? Are we still going to do that this year?
Right. That's what I was wondering. The same thing.
I don't
It's
understand this anymore.
well, I understand. I mean, yeah, I don't understand that. I understand like being like, oh, we got a matchup like battle going on here. Let's see who should play and who shouldn't. But like, again, you're talking about guys at two opposite ends really of their careers, and give me the young athletic freak who, whenever he is in the game, we're always talking about how he's like him and Tatum have a great thing going, and
He does
Lob
things no
Williams.
one else does.
He does, yeah, exactly. He's jumping out of the building, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well. Al's the trusty vet who can hit the corner three sometimes, and he'll make the smarter decisions. Like, oh yeah, maybe, but also maybe not. Like maybe Rob's having an unbelievable game and he's dominating whoever the other opposing big is out there, and you just roll with him, and that's just that. I don't think like you said at
The
this
tricky
point.
thing for this team, spacing. Now, I've said it all along. Al's not, who's like the Laurie Markkinen or one of those types who's hitting like 40% of their threes on high volume or something like that. He'll go on there and knock it down, which is something Rob can't do right now, which this team may need with some of their spacing concerns, depending on how Pritchard and Neesmith get involved. You're probably going to need a little bit more of him if those guys aren't able to get involved at a high rate here. What I didn't get from Jay's thing is them basically being the same amount of minutes per game, so swapping off at center there, because you would think
I did not forget about Marcus, by the way. Go ahead.
Al's probably going to play some 4, right? Like, there's going to be some amount of 4 that he's playing. I don't think it's going to be a ton, because I don't think he's quick enough.
It comes down to this, though, Bobby, and I'll ask you first. Who do we expect Al Horford is? Because I know you and maybe some other people. And we do this a lot. We did it with Tristan Thompson when they brought him here. You had a version of Tristan Thompson in your head that didn't exist anymore. It was one that had played a few years prior, and that version would have helped the Celtics. What you got was something different. If you're talking about the Al Horford we saw last in Boston, he can help you in a million different ways. But
The guy
I don't know.
the guy that's jerseys hanging behind the video.
Yeah.
That version.
That's the one.
I don't know.
Actually change his number because it's.
I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if it's naive to believe that Al Horford is anything other than a contract that isn't Kemba Walker. And you're talking about 15 minutes a game, and that's all you're getting out of Al, and that's all you want to get out of Al.
27 last year. So
Yeah,
in 30
20 to
games
25.
or whatever.
Or
Yeah.
if you're getting a guy who, thank God you got him here because he was ill-fitting in the last place that he went, and then he went to rot in OKC, and you're getting this guy who's fresh and you know how to use him, and he works here, and it's a huge benefit. It's a huge boon to the lineup. I don't know which guy you're getting. I really don't know. So what do you guys think? Because that makes a difference.
Honestly, John, I think it's the latter. I really do, because I think the answer to that question, the who Al is now, isn't the same guy that the Celtics needed him to be, a couple of years ago. Whereas, yeah, he still has that outside touch. Yeah, he can still, be a double threat every single night. But you're not leaning on him to do, to put up 20. You're not leaning on him to be the max guy he was, to be one of the top 2-3 scorers, night in and night out. So I think when you think about it that way, in a sense of he doesn't have that much pressure, or at least he doesn't have to carry the load in that sense, that he's free to get those shots, at least those looks, whether we're talking the outside looks, the pick and pop, or whether we're talking about what he's doing on the defensive end. I mean, that should be having him, not play the same amount of minutes or not have that amount of pressure, conserving those minutes, so to speak, to put forth the right effort on the defensive end. I think that bodes well for the Celtics, long term. honestly, I can't help but wonder what he's going to look like way down the road, whether we're talking, the next year's playoffs. I'm not even gonna say beyond. Let's just say next year's playoffs. I think the Celtics have to be a little careful here and monitor his situation and not have him. Maybe not every single back-to-back rest him, but he'll get plenty of rest in to ensure that he's that productive. That you see that version of Al, throughout the season and into the postseason.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, quickly. I mean, it's kind of nice you have two guys that do have really different games, and I mean really different games at this point, right? So they're going to do a lot of matchup-based playing. One guy might start, one guy might come off the bench one game, and then might flip the next. One guy might play 30, and the next play 20. I think that's a gift. That's a good thing. So I'm not going to get so hung up on who should play more. I think at the end of the year, both guys will contribute to the team. I do think Al Horford still has something to give. I hope that his knees hold up. That seemed to be like the one concern, with him, was some of the knee pain that he kind of dealt with, and hopefully that's fine. But I mean, do I think Al Horford's going to show up ready to play? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a veteran and he's very well respected, and he's made a long career of being a successful NBA player. Somebody in the comments mentioned he'll age like the Gasol brothers. Maybe. I mean, I could see
it's not a bad comp.
No, not at all.
It's
like
not bad.
Pau Gasol type. Yeah, I mean that. Certainly,
Yeah,
I could see something like that. So, I
think Rob, and this is what I said last week as John was freaking out. I think Rob should play more. I think you're just going to find the right rotations. Well, no, I'm going to say it again. There's a case.
That never happens. What?
There's a
you have to be
case.
more specific.
What?
There's a case that Al should start for this team. There really is, just in terms of the rotations. Who's going to have everybody organized on both ends of the floor? You're going to find some depth bench rotations where Rob is most maximized. No, there might be bench rotations where Rob's better utilized, and then maybe he closes games. There's a chance that Al opens games and Rob closes games. That's possible. You might find that in that opening rotation to get a good start to games, Al might be the better choice just in terms of floor space. Are you going to start Josh Richardson and Al, or are you going to start Josh Richardson and Rob? Because if you look at a Smart, Richardson, Tatum,
you're
Brown,
starting Smart,
Rob
the Jays, and Rob. We're only talking about the last position.
I don't know.
There is no debate.
I like
you know
honestly.
that, John, but I don't know if everybody else.
I don't know.
That.
I don't know if Richardson is going to be closing these games, but I still like Richardson in that role because I love the defense lineup or whatever you want to call it. Whether it's the one that you're going to go to when your knee stops, to stop the bleeding, or the one to kick off games. Because let's face it, last year, and I know it's a different team or whatever, but those slow starts can't happen this year. I think it's going to be really important for the Celtics to get off on the right foot. And I think if you put out that defensive lineup with Richardson in it, I think that gives you a better chance to get off on the right foot.
I want to point out this comment. I want my Rob Williams flexing Instagram picture. We need
get him Tatum's photographer.
We need Oh,
you need like a
no,
you're
not
talking
yet,
about
not
a
yet.
Photoshop?
We need to see what he looks like. It's a huge
our Tatum's version. Yeah,
it
we
is
do need to see
hugely important.
Yeah.
Hugely important to his year. Hugely important.
I just want to see him moving
I'm
around.
I'm running out of power.
Can
I want to see
I
him moving around.
I got to take a powder. I'll be right back. I got to get my power
Jeez.
board.
I just
Alright,
want
What
to
happened?
It's like
I want to
kids.
Maybe-
Kids table
maybe
at
I can plug it.
Thanksgiving, everybody. Kids table at Thanksgiving. It's where we have all the fun.
Well,
Right,
John's
throwing
gone.
food around.
I do want to plug this Rob story that I wrote last week for
Do it.
BSJ because there was so many great quotes in it, and I talked.
This
to,
is like Bobby plugging his A+ paper to the whole kids. Guys, I brought
No,
this.
there were so many
I brought
great
this to
quotes.
Thanksgiving. Check it
Brought
out.
my homework.
There were so many
Yeah.
great quotes in here.
Can't believe I got A+.
And I got to talk to basically his mentor, his guy from back home who, worked out with him and still kind of advises him and stuff like that. So obviously it's a guy he keeps in pretty close contact with. And I do want to pull up the quote exactly here because he basically told me Rob's goals for the year. And one of the big ones was starting. He wants to start. That's a big thing that's important to him. That's not something that was always important to him in the past. He came out the bench to start college. And the other thing he mentioned is that he wants to be all defense, which would obviously be a massive
That would be
leap from what he was
unbelievable.
before. I want to pull up that
Wow.
quote exactly, but like those
This
2
year,
Pull
points.
up
huh?
the old Word document, Bob. You must have the Word document in there, file somewhere.
I got it. There were a
Quick
lot
little
of quotes
Control
here.
F, find it quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's
So here it is. Here it
obviously a
is.
goal, but I don't know if it happens this year.
John, you
He
didn't miss
said,
much. Bobby was searching for his article for the
"Here we
last 10
go,
minutes,
John.
but he just pulled it up.
It's not the article.
Shameless
It's the
plug.
quote. The full quote here from Ricky Evans, who was Rob's mentor growing up.
Yes.
I know this year he definitely wants to try to make sure that he's a starter this season, not just some of the games, but a majority or all of the games. He wants to work and try to be on the first team all defense. He actually is setting goals like that for himself to give him something to try to achieve, to try to reach. He wants to play in more than 60 games this year. I think last year he might have played in 53. He has a lot of goals per se. So yeah,
I will
those are the
say,
big ones.
Interesting.
I
for sure.
read that quote. Those are actually modest.
First team all defense.
No, the other ones are very
Oh,
modest.
I was gonna say, what do you mean?
No, the 60 games and starting most games is actually lower than I would expect him to shoot. Like for terms of expectations. You should, if you're saying I want to play 60, that means you think you're going to play about 45 or 50.
I'd like to get a B- on this paper.
Right, exactly. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If I can get a B-, yeah, I can definitely
I'll
graduate.
be good. I'll get into a school somewhere,
Yeah.
That's not what you want. What you want to hear him say, I expect to play every game and there's no reason not to. My body feels great. I'm in the best shape of my life. And I fully expect to play all 60 games. They're not playing 72 this year. 60 is a low number.
Yeah,
That
but
would be
Rob,
Yeah.
Rob
I was
is
thinking we
been
might see
banged
Al
up.
play 60 games.
60 is a shitty 60
but-
60 would be what you would expect Kemba to aspire to. If Rob's only hoping he plays in 60, that's not great.
What are his like season game totals? I mean, obviously the first two were very low. I forget what he ended up with last year, but he did miss a chunk of games last year. So, I mean, 60
Last year
games.
was okay right up until the end, and then he just all fell apart with like the inflammation.
Right.
And
But
the
he was
hurt toe.
barely playing last year in those games, the first half. So
The management was working.
Yeah.
So if he's averaging 25 minutes a game this year, 60 games would be astronomically long.
Isn't that going to be?
larger role than the first three?
Isn't that going to be
Still
one of the
shooting
really
low.
We
It
got
is,
30,
but-
32 is rookie year, 29.
Shoot low, John. You'll
year
never be
two.
disappointed.
Oh,
Words of
29.
wisdom.
29 year two. Well, he really wasn't in the rotation until the end of 2020, and then 52 last year was exactly what it was out of 72, which wasn't. That's what 62 in a real year, right? So,
Not quite, but we're not going to get into the math right now. But but yeah, I mean,
That's how I would do math.
going from 52 to being like, yeah, now I want to get to 60. You're right. It's not like reaching for the stars. But I mean, I imagine, and don't forget, this is not coming from Rob's mouth. This is somebody very close to Rob, and it was a great article and a great interview. But I'm sure if you talk to Rob, his goals might be more than 60, or he'd probably say that. He'd probably at least say it.
Mixed up, yeah.
Yeah, he'd probably at least say it. So I'm not going to be
Rob's
like,
why did you say 60?
Yeah.
He's like pissed at him right now.
Bro, this isn't a college schedule anymore.
70.
Yeah.
It was 70.
Yeah, right.
He's like, I thought you guys were playing 72
again.
again. My bad.
Right.
I probably thought it was.
That
he
actually
thought it
would
was
be a good
72
number
game
under
season.
72, to be fair, right?
Yeah.
It
Well,
would be.
Yeah.
You know what, though? No one's playing anywhere close to 82 games anymore, unfortunately. Scheduled
is
time
true.
off.
What? Isaiah's the last Celtic to play 82.
Yeah. And then they canned his ass. So see what it gets you? See you put your body on the line. And
That's fine, but I mean, a healthy person who does load management
and then he broke down.
misses
For 82.
misses
Yeah.
5,
82
6
on
games.
one hit.
60 means I expect to be hurt for part of it, and that
Yeah.
sucks.
Right.
So-
I mean, do we know how healthy he is going into this year?
So we don't know anything. That's why I was saying
I'm
I'm joking. I want to see the Instagram.
That's why it's not a good
him
sign.
working out. I need
Right.
to see what he comes back and looks like, and the physical condition that he's in, and his size and all of that stuff makes a huge difference in what type of year he's going to have. So I really hope this was his physical transformation year with the benefit of a full off season, because it makes all the difference. He puts on a little bit of muscle with his athletic ability and his continued him continuing to have the game slow down for him, he can be an insanely dangerous.
You'll have to watch the game
player.
alone if that happens.
He's the X factor on this team.
He's the X factor. There's no question about it.
Him and Al to some degree.
Because he could, all of a sudden, you wake up and you have a third all-star you didn't know existed. That's a big deal. And that is his ceiling is all-star. I'm saying his, not ceiling, his this year ceiling is all-star and all defensive team. Like
aspiration.
He could get there theoretically. But I don't know. I mean, you got to see what he looks like.
You want him to blow away Horford in this race. It shouldn't be close. The only reason it's close is because you have the health concerns with Rob, the stability, even some of the like defensive, discipline stuff. Like you would expect Al to be a little bit more of a disciplined defender than Rob. But the thing is, you got that 9-block game out of Rob in the Brooklyn series, and you got
which Ime had a front row seat for.
Yes, and you saw how the Nets pretty much had to adjust things in that series going against him. Like, he's someone you really defensively have to game plan for this. I was talking to one of Atlanta's coaches for that Bruno story I wrote 2 weeks ago, and that's another guy who's blown away, hyped by Rob. You talk to people in the league right now outside of Boston, and they're really excited about this guy, really intrigued. So, like, come training camp, the two questions you're going to want to ask, right? Ime, like, is there that same restriction on him that Brad kind of had in that spot? Like, is this going to be like a 25-minute deal for him again? And then, like, what are you kind of expecting out of him this year? Is he the starter? Is he going to be, like, central to everything that they're trying to do here? Does Ime kind of follow that Brad line? That might be, like, one of the biggest questions for Ime this year in terms of his difference from Brad at that head coaching spot. Yeah.
I'm curious with that, too. So we want to get to a couple more topics. I have to tell the people at home again about another sponsor we have. Again, it's Raycon earbuds, wireless earbuds here, which you can go to buyraycon.
Buyraycon.com.
Buyraycon.com.
And if you don't like them, you'll get your money back, right?
Well, you're going to like them, so we won't get into that. Yeah, I mean.
Anyway, so whether you use them to pump up,
as long as you can hear out of them,
work out, Raycons are the go-to
for
on-the-go audio. What's that?
So keep
are they loud?
They're awesome.
You turn up.
Are you wearing them right now?
No, not right now. But the new everyday earbuds, I got the noise canceling right now. But
right.
Look, feel, and sound better than ever. Improved rubber oil look and feel. Optimized gel tips fits the ear perfectly.
Gel tips.
You have you can do. There's 3 new. This is what's kind of cool. The sound profiles. Pure mode, which is for podcast listening. You put them on, hang out, listen to the Garden Report. It's great. Balanced mode, bass mode. Whatever it is that you're listening to. There's a mode for it. Awareness mode, when you need to listen to your surroundings instead, which is kind of interesting because it's if you want to space
like
out.
When you're,
like,
oh, never mind. I thought it was like when you're about to order something at Dunkin's and you can't hear her.
That might be what it's for. Just
yeah.
Wait. I just spaced out.
That's when you don't want the cancellation.
Oh no, you don't want cancellation?
Yes. Awareness mode.
Oh, awareness. Oh, so like if you're driving, maybe too. They frown upon headphones in the car. I know that. Driving. They frown upon that.
Because there's a speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, you know when you're running, in the city specifically, you want to be able to at least hear like.
Speaker.
So I'm going to tell you.
That's an important sense to have.
Yeah. I'm going to give you my cautionary tale. It was I used to love running and or going for bike rides on Thanksgiving or Christmas. If the weather is good. And I'll still. If the weather is
from the family for a bit?
No, because there's nobody on the road. It's amazing. It's especially bike rides. You could just go. And I did one a couple of years ago, and there's no cars at all. And I was going down an intersection, and the light was green, so I was doing my thing. But I had my earbuds in, thinking, okay, whatever. There's nobody around. I don't need to worry about it. And a police car ran the light because with the sirens on.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't hear the sirens, and it was a matter of this much of me getting plowed. Just that.
Wow.
So I've never done that again, but I would.
You would have ruined Christmas for everybody.
I would do it with this mode. So
Yeah.
John's like, wow, this is great. Nobody's on the road. It's like, yeah, dude, everyone's like with their friends and family, like enjoying the day. And John's like, this is the best day ever. He's like,
no, I used to do it. I used to go for runs on Christmas because I was training for the marathon. But on Thanksgiving, I go for a bike ride in the morning all the time. I love it.
Cool.
And there's nobody on the road.
Who is this dude?
Awesome. Feel a little bit better about
the marathon.
like the 3,000 calories that you're gonna.
Why are we just now listening to
after?
Why are we just now finding out about this? What the heck?
Back in the day,
near-death experience.
Back in the day, I ran.
Look at this comment. No, John Sanders would be crazy.
John's like, I'm never running a marathon again after that near encounter.
John used to run marathons. He can grab the rim at TD Garden. You're like a unicorn,
in
man.
dress shoes, yeah.
In dress shoes, nonetheless. Right? It's insane.
No, I know John was big on the bike. He used to bike to work all the time. Dripping.
I just remember this. Do you remember when I was attacking the rim. We were goofing off, while
and you went into the stance.
And I'm going up against Clevis. Yeah,
and he pushed you.
The layup, and he pushed me. I fell like 3 rows in, and then the
ball
goes
made it.
And the layup went
yes.
in. Yeah.
I remember
I just remember that. That was the same night I saw you dunk. I was like, wow, that just happened. I was like,
you dunked?
And then we recorded the guard report.
I used to have some spring. I could dunk anything I could palm, and I could dunk tosses. But I didn't dunk that night. No, but I could still jump up and grab the rim, and that was only a few years ago. Pretty easy.
Just gotta get back to squatting. You gotta get those legs.
It's gone. Here. The spring. The first thing you notice is
back to squatting.
The spring is gone. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It just feels dead. You've lost that spring. When it goes, it goes. It's a bummer.
Speaking of that, next month.
But anyway,
yep, it sure does.
Buy Raycon.com/garden, 15% off your next purchase. Again, I would head out and get these things. Everybody needs wireless earbuds. If you don't have them, you're not happy with yours. You're thinking about getting them. You're getting top shelf quality at a fraction of the price, so you're going to play for the other premium brands. So let's do this. Go for it.
Legends and Raycon.
Someone said John sounds like Romeo.
Yeah.
Going to the gym with Legends and Raycon.
Hey, Joe Sway gave me the props for the jumping. I wasn't saying it myself. All I said is I almost got hit by a car. That's the only part of the story I was bringing to the table.
Speaking of our games,
Romeo he's got low key hops. So that's a compliment. No,
he's low key everything with Romeo.
Low key everything.
Very low key. Just a low key player.
I was gonna say too.
The lowest key.
Speaking of our games, next month I'll be joining my first men's league.
We need the schedule. We need the schedule for that.
They're keeping track of the stats too. So
Jimmy, I'm doing play-by-play. You do colors.
Yeah, we're bringing the garden report to Bobby's men's league game.
Yeah. So
every Wednesday night.
Couple things we wanted to get into before we wrap it for this week. We did talk about expectations for the year 2 players. Now we had our little Vegas League dream. And it's so funny. I don't know if when you're in the Vegas League and you see some good things, you feel really good. And then it all kind of fades because you're like, oh, it was the Vegas League. So I don't really know. But, Keith over at Celtics blog was doing some stuff. He talks to scouts, couple fun pieces, just giving, a little background on, how scouts view a couple of the Celtics players right now. And he did a couple on Neesmith. A lot of the stuff is what we talk about. Catch and shoot guy. Nice to see that he can do a little bit more. But there was one scout, and this guy, what a jerk.
This guy hates Aaron Neesmith. Is this the guy you're talking about?
Yeah. So this is the last one.
In one of them, yeah.
It was kind of interesting seeing these are all scouts, but some of their opinions are just all over the place. But they're watching the same thing.
Yeah,
so.
But basically it was. I want to find it. A lot of the stuff was the catch and shoot was pretty good. They showed a little bit better off the dribble, which was good.
Picked up a shooting late in the season, almost was 40%, that type of stuff.
Yeah,
high energy.
Right.
And
but
then
where's
this guy?
I'm trying to find it.
This is almost as bad as Bobby looking for his quote.
I had it.
You know what? We shouldn't have put John in charge of combing the internet. That was our fault.
What I read?
Let me find it. Let me just find it. It's already actually up right here.
Yeah, if you haven't put it in there. Oh, I guess I just don't see what everyone else does. Sure, he shot pretty good on open ones, but he has to do that. Otherwise, he's not in the league. He can't dribble. His passing instincts are terrible. His size is fine, but he's not some amazing leaper, and he doesn't get way up on his jumpers. Also, watching him come off screens, he catches the ball too low, takes too long to get into his shots.
That's the part that really stuck out to me, right? Because we came into the year,
and this is a Western Conference scout,
with all these premonitions of him being this knockdown shooter. Normally, you expect those guys to just be firing like it's nothing, and his release all year was pretty slow. Like you mentioned, that coming around the screens and stuff. Like it took, and you mentioned this too during the year, John. Like it took him a while to get it up and unload it.
Yeah,
and that really hasn't changed all that much.
Right,
got a fairly slow release.
It's slow and it's sometimes a little hitchy. There's a little pullback, and you're right. He brings it up and over, and it's a slow pull. Yeah, it's a slow pull, and that's still there. He does need to. He's got to catch it, and I catch it high and let go for sure. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it looked like he had a little hitch in it during the year, but it was most of the people were kind of in and around.
Yeah, they were out. This little quote was my favorite. Now he's gonna calm down a little bit, or he's gonna hurt someone or himself. I was like, yeah, we kind of say that stuff too.
But there was a lot of the general consensus outside of the outlier one, which hates him, was good, not great, is the ceiling here, which is you're hoping for a guy who can, shoot a little bit, but he's never. You're not getting an all-star out of this. I don't think any of us are fooling ourselves into believing that he's an all-star, but some people are trying to talk themselves into getting him into the starting lineup as your starting two. I've floated it from time to time. I don't know if I'm settled on that. I would love in a world where Aaron Nesmith could perform the things he's supposed to do well enough to be considered as a starter. I don't think he's there.
No, the scouts on the defense were saying
this is we had this conversation before the Josh Richardson move, but now that Josh Richardson's here, I'm not a big fan of it, at least not right now.
Yeah, and I just read through the defense part too, and they all comment on how much he hustles, but he held his own on defense, but he's probably a 3-and-D guy at best. The D's not quite there, but the 3 is, that sort of thing. And then one scout said, he's never going to be an all-star, but could he be a J.J. Redick type player? Maybe. I mean, J.J. Redick is, I guess he's still technically playing, I think, one of the best shooters or in the history of the game, but, obviously he had liabilities in other areas. So I don't think Nesmith is a liability on one end, but he might have a ceiling that, unless he can put more of it together, he could end up being a J.J. Redick but maybe not that good of a shooter.
Yeah, and on this team, shooting's at such a premium that if he is knocking down 40% again, he's going to be in there a significant amount, spacing different lineups. And again, I don't think the starting lineup matters all that much on this team. I think it's pretty much going to be placating the veterans and then, getting into some of your more effective groupings throughout the flow of the game. And he could be part of those. I didn't love the defense in Summer League. Again, you can't get a good gauge out of there, but still, it looks like he opens his hips, allows lanes to the basket. He's got good length.
Over pursues all the time. He's out of position. Overruns guys. He's out of position a ton. He takes bad angles on people. It really is undisciplined.
That's why he fouls so much.
He's just spazzing out and running out at people. Full energy without any real.
Here's the thing on the shooting too. You almost wish you could combine him and Pritchard in the one player, because Pritchard's got the dribbling and really the real can't miss pure stroke out of these two when we think about it.
And Romeo's defense, maybe between the 3 of those guys, we have a starter.
All 3 of them together would come together as a starter. Instead, they all get the weaknesses. And again, the consistent thing you saw in this piece, the guy can't dribble.
That's a very important player.
Yeah,
can't dribble.
That was.
Well,
they said Jaylen Brown couldn't dribble either, though.
That's why I made the Jaylen comparison way back, not because they have any similarities to their game, simply because Jaylen couldn't dribble at all, and then he could enough. It's still not his strength, but he can certainly do it enough to get to where he wants to go. What we did see from Nesmith from year 1 to year 2, at least in Vegas Summer League, was putting it on the floor enough to get to the basket. Again, on Vegas League talent, but we didn't see any of that last year. He couldn't dribble at all. So even a slight improvement for him is a big improvement over last year where he wouldn't put the ball on the floor. He was afraid to.
He did dominate in Summer League, which is what we were looking for.
And he got to the hole. Yeah.
It passed the test of what we were looking for. Now, like, again, we moved the goalpost a little bit there. We weren't expecting too much out of these guys in that league. And for a long stretch, these two in particular, Neesmith and Pritchard, were as good as anybody out there. So I know you take it with a grain of salt, but relative to the field, it was encouraging that they rose to, be talked about with some of these other guys at the top there. But Pritchard, I'm really intrigued by at this point.
Pritchard?
Yeah. Especially the last comment there. I know that's one you're going to really love, John.
Well, you can start on Pritchard because I know we're kind of all over the place with where we think he's going to go. Like what type of, what he can be for this team and also what his minutes might be for this team because it is a little crowded now.
So this was the one that I know
he's
you
got
love.
for
And
it now.
I can buy into this a little bit too. I think he'll play at least 20, 25 minutes a game off the bench if Josh Richardson struggles again, and that's something I want to get to a little bit.
This is an independent analyst in the piece. I don't know if it's a scout or not,
I think that's a lot. Who said?
I think
this is in the Celtics blog piece by Keith Smith talking to different scouts, and in this particular case, an independent analyst. So I don't know who this is, but anyway.
This is a great quote.
This is a guy.
Okay, gotcha.
This is an independent analyst, a guy with no job. It sounds like. This is like a guy who watches. This is like going on YouTube and being like, yeah, he's good. He's pretty good. He's pretty damn good. Yeah, I just watched the YouTube highlight reel.
Yeah, that being said, could you call Coach Nick an independent analyst? He is. So it doesn't necessarily mean that. But anyway, go ahead.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not saying Coach Nick is the man. I'm not saying this.
No. I'm saying there are some people who do this independently and make a living off of it. So anyway, finish the quote, Bobby.
But to your point, though, some people could just slap that on there.
Yeah. Right.
No, that is a weird way to name it, but anyway, I think Peyton Pritchard starts.
That's what cracked me up most about this. Independent analyst could be anybody.
Literally, could be any of us.
That's protecting a source. I think Peyton Pritchard starts and Marcus
Smart. I didn't even think about it like that until Jimmy said it.
Yeah.
He says, I think Peyton Pritchard starts and Marcus Smart moves over the wing. He's a better fit with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown than Dennis Schroeder is. Let Schroeder dominate the ball in the second unit.
Could be Dudley.
Keep Boston in games in that role. As an aside, and this is what Ron's going to love.
Good. Yeah. Go ahead.
I thought Brad Stevens should have moved Pritchard into the starting five and brought Kemba Walker off the bench. That's kind of where I think
independent analyst.
So wait, this could be John.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, John.
I don't agree with
this
that.
whole time it was John. This whole time.
Independent analyst.
This is your quote.
I think we teased
this is M. Night Shyamalan twist here.
I think we teased this when he really started dominating in the summer league just because of all the spacing you would need on this team. If you have legit defensive parts all around Pritchard, you could probably hide him as like a guy who's going to have a ton of space to operate next to the Jays and as the floor spacer for that starting unit, like at least in rotation, right? They're probably not going to call Peyton Pritchard's name in the starting units. But through the course of a game, you probably mix Pritchard a little bit with the Jays as a floor spacer, right? Because this guy was as good as any catch-and-shoot player in the league. The defense is where you have concerns, and that's what they talked a lot about in this piece. But there seems to be no doubt among any of the people here and, us here in the Garden Report that he can shoot the ball, and that's going to be something that he does for his whole career really well.
That is true. The downside.
What has he done to really earn this, though, Bobby?
The
I don't think he's done enough to earn a starting spot, not on this roster.
No, and I do think you give the benefit of the doubt to Richardson there, but this is where I do give Pritchard some leeway is I'm not crazy about Richardson. I never have been. I think he's extremely limited offensively. He's going to be playing off the ball on this team no matter what. And he's a great defender. He's probably a great, tone setter to start a game, as you said, Joe Sway, just in terms of really locking down at those guard spots to open a game. But all along, ever since they acquired him, I just do not like the fit of Richardson and Smart playing next to each other.
I don't either. I'm going to say this. I know everyone says the key to Pritchard being a starter is his defense. I don't think you're ever going to get defense out of Pritchard
you're going to be able to hide him
to a level that you're going to feel comfortable about. But Pritchard's key to being a starting point guard, and one of the scouts pointed this out, is passing. Because right now he's a good enough scorer to start for you. and a ball handler, but he needs to be a better distributor. And that's not something that we saw a lot of. So that's what's keeping him from being a starting point guard in this league more so than his defense. I think you can hide the defense a little. I think he's scrappy enough, athletic enough, and
Scrappy.
Sparky.
He's sparky. He puts in enough effort. He's one of those guys who's always going to be around a guy, but he's not going to stop people. Kemba Walker was that way too. It wasn't like he wasn't trying. He's limited because of his size and his just physical, profile.
So here's my question.
I think he can, and Kemba Walker's unquestionably a starter. You're not saying
is he Darren Collison, guys?
I don't know.
He might be Darren Collison.
So this is my question. I know people are going to come at me for the defense.
He's got to pass. He's got to pass.
Jimmy, I want to ask you this.
And be a real pain in the ass on defense. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, let me get ready.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Do you think this is such an important question? Do you think this team is going to be scrapping for offense the way the roster's built?
You're relying very heavily on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So, I mean, I think the guys after that, you're not too sure what you're going to get offensively. I don't know if
I'm worried about.
Yeah. I mean, you're pretty much asking for like close to 60 between two guys.
I think you have better second unit offense this year.
Well, you do.
See,
you do in a way.
I was wondering if this team can make the playoffs until Schroeder came along, though.
Because I think with Schroeder,
that's a huge addition.
There's something.
Schroeder.
Al, I think
you're asking for guys to take a little bit of a leap, though. Like Pritchard's going to have to be more consistent. I mean, you have a lot of inconsistency still on the bench. I don't know. Maybe Richardson can give you 12 a game.
You got
things
more
like that.
Playmaking, but you lost shooting and you lost scoring overall in Kemba.
I thought they were scrapping at times last year too. I mean.
But they were top 10 last year when it was all said and done. The defense is really what's cost them and where they struggled. So, again, like this commentator went at me there, like, I'm glad they've solidified the defense. I'm glad that's going to be their identity this year. But I'm not. That's
so boring.
No, but it gives you a higher floor. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to win night in,
Can't wait to watch, 94, 88 games.
You're banking on your bench to really –
we
your
really
second unit to really step up. I mean, think about how bad the second unit was at points last year. You're wanting everyone to take a leap. You're expecting more from Pritchard. You're expecting more from Neesmith. You want to see Romeo show a pulse. You're asking for all these things to happen. So it's hard to say if they're going to be. I think we'll know very early on if they have if they are any deeper than they were. I mean, obviously Schroeder helps them out off the bench, and but Smart might hopefully be taking less shots. So, if he's making the better pass, then maybe those are more points that are going to guys like a Richardson or a Brown or something like that.
How about you, Joseph?
What's that?
You think they'll be scrapping for offense with this?
Oh no, I don't. I don't think so. That's what I said before. Once the Schroeder signing happened, because before Schroeder, I was like, man, this team is fighting for a playoff spot. Like they're destined for the play-in tournament. But I think Schroeder changes things because, obviously what happened during the offseason is going to be going into this one, right? He's going to have to
changes things, but he doesn't make them into this offensive juggernaut.
Right, but also he has those opportunities.
He
doesn't have to share the ball the way he did in LA.
No,
he can really sort of. If he wants to lead that second unit, Jimmy, he can. It's not like there's someone that's a constant threat to steal his touches. Like who's a double-digit scorer off that bench outside of Schroeder? I mean,
nobody
that's what you don't know. What makes
and they didn't have that last year.
You might not have one this year either.
You can mix them in with the stars as well.
What makes you better, if you are better, or makes you at least the same, is improvements within your roster. That's it. It's not the player in, player out thing. You have a good idea what you lost and a good idea what you gained. You know who Richardson is. You know who Schroeder is. It's not a surprise. The key is how much better is Tatum this year? How much better is Brown this year? How much better is Rob this year? How does Mark handle the point? How does Marcus handle being point guard and nothing else? And then what kind of leaps do you get from Neesmith, Romeo, Pritchard into a point of, are they actual rotation pieces? Can you get 8 points a game from Neesmith coming off the bench? Can you get Romeo to play 15, 18 minutes and play good defense? Can you get Pritchard to play 20 minutes as a backup and score 10, 12 points a game? You get all of these things up, that's what gets you there. If you don't, if those guys stay flat and they're not really NBA rotational players, you're effed because you're back into the holy crap, we have no depth thing. So
Right.
everyone's got to get a little bit better,
Yeah.
or else it's not going to be better.
Well,
But
the depth's in a good place.
it's not all about Schroeder and those guys.
I think the depth's in a good place because you have guys that you tend to think are going to be able to play. Because last year's group would have been pretty good if everything fell into place. Problem was Kemba was never there. Tristan barely showed up for the season. And, then all of a sudden your depth was in a place where it was like, all right, everybody's going to move up, and then there's no depth behind them. With this group, I think it's pretty stable. Like, unless Rob and Al are just an injured wreck all year, like this group is going to have a pretty solid floor in terms of depth. Like, I almost look at this roster and say they could deploy like a full second unit. You're still going to have Tatum or Brown in there with 3 or 4 other bench guys.
With one of those guys. Yeah.
But you do have enough depth here that, like, if you really did have to put out like a video game style bench, you'd have 5 guys there that can do it. So that is going to be, I think, a strength of this team is that across positions, you're going to have a really solid guy to fill in at every single position if someone else does go down.
Yeah.
And, the real reason I asked that question is because if you are scrapping for offense this year, that's when you really start to think about Pritchard, just to make everybody's job a little bit easier, because spacing the way he can do it is capable of doing that. And I think you probably try to protect him on the defensive end and make that thing work just because of what his shooting can do for a lineup. Like, I don't know, that projected starting lineup and Jay's piece and what I think everybody's projected starters tend to be would just really struggle to space the floor, I think. Rob, Richardson, Smart, Brown, Tatum.
Yeah, I don't love the Richardson either, but I understand where they're going. But
Yeah.
so we'll talk more about this. We're going to be back next week for sure. And then we're looking at training camp starting, we believe, in 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks. NBA training camp is supposed to start the 28th.
Less
So
than 2 weeks, yeah.
We're going to get a chance to talk to the Celtics, talk again to Ime, and see the players and get to some practices. Hopefully, I'm not sure what it's going to be like for media this year, but it's gonna ramp up, and before you know it, season's going to be upon us. So things are definitely going to get moving sooner than later, and we're pretty psyched about it. We've had an off season. We're rested. We've got our sponsors here. We want to give them one more shout out. Legends Apparel. We're all rocking the Legends Apparel right now. Legends.com. Use the code GARDEN20. Save 20% on your first order. And, of course, Raycon earbuds. Go to buyraycon.com /garden. Receive 15% off your next purchase. Guys, any closing thoughts before we wrap it? No? We've said it all.
Closing thoughts. Where do I even start? No, not really. I mean, to be completely honest, it's like kind of a slow time of season. I thought we had a nice, fun little show here to sort of like, keep the fiends going on there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's right.
I wanted to do, and maybe we'll do it next show. I want to draft like players from like the late '90s to early 2000s, the guys that everyone forgets about. So
Yeah, Jimmy really wants to do this.
Maybe we can slide that in at some
You'll
point.
have to count me out on that one.
Well, you're gonna have to do your research.
We'll figure it out.
No,
Schroeder, I love Schroeder having some fun with the contract today.
Yeah.
One more,
How he
one more
fumbled the
chance.
bag.
Yeah, one more fumble your bag joke chance here. I wasn't the first one to say this, but I do love him possibly going with number 84. I really hope he does for the 84 million.
That'd be great.
I hope he does.
Having that thing kind of drive him all year. I can't wait till they play the Lakers. And having him try to get back, that's gonna be fun this year. I like the Schroeder signing a lot. I know Joe Sway said it earlier. Yeah, earlier in the show, the fact that you kind of have a galvanized guy like that who's really just got his back against the wall for his career now and lost so much money and just has probably a chip on his shoulder, for lack of a better term. This coming into this year. There's some concerns there. I know we got into that last week, but I love the signing. I love the risk, and I think it really could be a ceiling raiser for this team.
Okay.
We all
My
love
closing
it. I
thoughts.
think we all do.
I'm going Paul Pierce. Great speech.
How was it?
I thought it was great.
You were out
you
there,
didn't
right?
watch it?
No, you were out there at the thing, weren't you?
No, I wasn't out there. I went to school in Springfield, but I didn't go out there for the event.
He's not allowed back to that town.
I
What he did in college.
That's not true. That's pretty funny though, Jimmy. No, that's not why. But no, I was impressed, honestly. I mean, you knew he was gonna tell you some stuff that you didn't really know. I didn't expect him to talk about burning down the house, but that was something he didn't have to share. I thought he did a really good job of putting a little bit of comedy in there. and of course wrapping things up the way he did, shouting out his, sending everything out to his kids and special dedication, and telling them to reach for their dreams and all that good stuff. I mean, I just thought it was really touching for Paul to put it all together the way he did, and Doc Rivers being there, and KG up there. It was a great moment. It was a really good moment.
So I don't know if it happened, but I even saw like we were posting pictures or something. Did KG and Ray actually sit next to each other? Because it looked like that's where the seats were.
That was the original seating. That was the chart, I guess, a seating chart.
KG
But
came through and was
someone,
like,
I'm thinking KG said absolutely not.
He said, "Hell no."
I mean, nothing. Did you really expect that to happen when you got
No.
LeBron and Bosh and these guys are taking pics together? It was like the school reunion where like the cliques all went back to their groups,
Yeah.
and it's like,
That
yeah,
would've
Ray,
been
you're one
nice,
of those
though.
guys now, you're
I
not
mean,
one of us anymore.
It was, I don't know. I mean, these guys go for so many reasons for so many people, but it was good to see Ray was there, and I'm sure he was there to support Paul along with some other people. Obviously, he knew KG was going to be there. I wonder how many other players from that team made an appearance that we just don't know about. But it's always good
Mario
to see.
Chalmers was definitely there. No, I don't know.
It's always good to see these guys get back together and kick it for a bit. And obviously, well deserved. Just way you summed it up very nicely. Great speech by Pierce. Well deserved. And I know not everybody in this video thinks it was well deserved or necessary or
Get out of
should have
here.
even happened. But I think I speak for Joe Sway and Bobby at least when I say very well deserved by Paul Pierce.
Love Paul
Well
Pierce.
deserved by Paul Pierce.
Who's the next Celtics to go to the Hall?
Rob.
Rondo.
Does Rondo go
Hey?
to the Hall? I was asking that last week.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Might need-
everyone gets into the Hall, man.
He
Come
might
on.
need one more championship. He might need one more. I don't know.
He is probably one of the best passing point guards ever, but I don't know what that gets you.
It will be interesting to see if he gets in the Hall. I don't know, but I've always been a Rondo guy. I think he'll
Where's
end
he
up.
ranking assists?
You know
top
what?
10?
Here's a hot take. I think someday Rondo gets in the Hall because I think he's going to stick around basketball for a very long time. And I wonder at some point, if he doesn't get in like right away as a player, I wonder if he'll get in someday as a coach or as some
He
sort
would
of.
be such a fun coach, wouldn't he?
He's definitely gonna. I think I've even heard him say like he wants to get into coaching, and I think he'll be sticking around like the league.
Rondo is really fringy. I don't think he gets in.
He's fringy, I know, but
It's
that's
just
why it
for
could be like one of those
category,
like
right? Yeah.
you can go to the Basketball
but
Hall of Fame for a million reasons. If it's not a player, who knows what it is someday.
It feels like he could have if it wasn't for those injuries and that like turmoil between Boston and Dallas there, because that really just like shoved them from being the future of the Celtics possibly to being like this guy who bounces around the league and does.
Yeah,
the
it made
next-
him a journeyman. That's what
Yeah.
it
The
was.
next guy is Tatum.
The next guy is Tatum. What about Marcus Smart, dude?
I'm
Marcus
not
Smart's
laughing because his
number
the accent,
will be
right?
raised into the rafters before Rondo's.
Kukoc. I forgot he got in. That was
Does
something.
Doc get in? Does Doc
Oh,
get in?
yeah, Doc gets in.
Oh,
John, we lost
John.
Did you mute yourself or something?
Doc's gonna tell the story of Simmons in his speech. That's what everyone will want to hear.
John, I can't hear John. Can you guys?
No,
can't hear him
John's out. I guess this is pretty much where we wrap it.
I guess we have to.
John, check it out.
I guess we have to call it. Oh, you're still out, John. You're still
Not-
out.
That is the Garn report.
Honestly, it's kind of nice. Nope. Kind of peaceful.
Jimmy, you got to tell him to go out and come back in like he always tells you.
Yeah, go out, come back in. We'll see you. We'll see you
Yeah.
in a bit. Yeah, we'll go
Yeah.
out, come back in. He'll just end the show on us. If you want to end the show, give us a sign. All right, he wants to end the show.
All right, Jimmy, wrap